So I find myself, as I often do, thinking about change. And the thing that I'm thinking about change today is how when change comes, it always brings with it both the good and the bad. Not always in equal proportions, of course, but every change that happens will inevitably bring some good stuff and some bad stuff. And if the good stuff seems to outweigh the bad, then we'll view that as a positive change. We'll say, yeah, it was really great that this happened. The only downside was, and then as an aside, we'll share the kind of the grit in the ointment, if you like. But we'll view that as a positive change. And if the bad seems to outweigh the good, then we'll view that as a negative change. And yet, whichever way we kind of label it, that's a positive change or that's a negative change, there will always, with any change, be some stuff that's good and some stuff that is not so good. Some stuff that we're pleased with and some stuff that we're not pleased with. All change brings that. And even the kind of change which is awful, which we would never ever want to have been visited upon us, because it's change, it is inevitably going to bring about, even if it's in a tiny proportion, something that one could regard as good or redemptive in some way. And so I'm recording this in the midst of the coronavirus outbreak. We're in, the back end of March and it's all in full swing at the moment. And, we're on the verge of a lockdown and many of us have been kind of isolating ourselves for the benefit of others for a while. And I know I've certainly been doing that in my practice. I'm just seeing clients through phone calls and video calls rather than in person at the moment. And it's interesting to notice as I talk to other people and as I look upon my own life, how this very unwelcome development with all sorts of terrible costs associated with it. Like any change, there is both the bad, which we're all aware of, but there's also in there as well, change delivers some positives as well, some things that we might look at and go, I would never have asked for this situation, and so I would never have been noticing these positives that have landed. But in actual fact, when things get back to normal, when I resume a life as ordinary as it can be after this, I think I'd quite like to keep hold of these changes that were thrust into my life at that time. And so when I look at my life at the moment, what are the things that I'm liking about the way life has kind of developed around this particular outbreak? Well, there are certain things I'm doing creatively that I wasn't doing before. But the change in working style means because I've got more time at home and less time travelling, I'm able to have a little play with some creative stuff that I wasn't doing. I'm able to engage people in creative projects that I wasn't doing before. A part of me really likes the fact that I have more clients online and through telephone calls and video calls, and quite enjoying that process in a way that I didn't fully expect to. And when I talk to other people in life, they're also reporting how, it's given them a little bit of time to, reflect on life or to take up hobbies or to learn a new skill or to read something or simply just take care of themselves in a different way by putting themselves into the equation of what would typically be a very, very busy life, but this pause that has been imposed on us. For those of us who have a pause, people are noticing that the pause is actually quite welcome in a variety of ways and is connecting them to things that they simply wouldn't have had time to connect to otherwise. Other people are noticing that they quite like that when they do go out for a walk, that there's barely any cars on the road. Other people quite like the fact that pollution is better. Others even like the idea of a government who is talking about trying to look after everybody, even if they're not doing it in the way that we would like. So these are all the elements of things that we can notice during what we might class as a negative change. And, it would be fair to class this virus outbreak as a negative situation. And yet even there is stuff where life has changed in some way, where it's also delivered, inadvertently maybe, some positives that we can actually look at and say, well, we've got this now. We didn't ask for it, but we've got this now, and we can see that actually this is something that we'd like to take forward. And that might be a societal thing, it might be a political thing, it might be a very personal thing. An aspect of life that has been thrust upon us in this crisis, in this negative change, where we'd actually say, when life gets back to normal, I don't want to let go of this positive. And so that's my invite for you, not just in this particular, external situation, but just in life generally. When things take a turn for the worse in any way, to keep an eye out for those things that actually work out a little bit better, despite the fact that it might be really awful overall. Still, when we notice those things which are a bit of a redemptive factor, or something that feels a little bit better nonetheless, that we are actually free to grab hold of those and say, look, I didn't ask for you, but seeing as you're here, and I notice that you're here, and I notice that amongst everything, this at least is an improvement. I'm going to keep hold of you. And so when I move forward with my life, I'm going to take you with me. Because I didn't ask for you, you were thrust upon me, and now you're here, and I'm going to keep you and move forward and have this positive change with me going forward in the rest of my life as well. Because, maybe we like not working ourselves to the bone. Maybe we like spending time pursuing our passions. Maybe we like a world where there's less pollution. Whatever it is that you're noticing, my invite to you is to check out the things that you would like to take with us going forward when we're out of this. And not just in this situation, but situations that arrive for you uniquely and personally as well. Now, if you like this idea and you'd like to share it, you can do. Just share it to your friends, family, whoever. And of course, if you want to subscribe to this podcast, it's completely free. There's a new one every day, and you can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, the usual places, Spotify. You can also find us on YouTube, and just go to asliceoftherapy.com. Asliceoftherapy.com, that takes you directly to the YouTube channel. And if you'd like to work with me one-on-one, I'm Alun Parry. I'm the director of the Liverpool Psychotherapy practice at liverpoolpsychotherapy.co.uk. So I'll see you tomorrow with another one. Thanks very much for listening.